I want to welcome everyone to the weekly Rotary Club of Jonesboro meeting. Reigning District Club, 6150 Club of the Year. And so 4-time. So working on, going to have to submit some stuff for maybe to get the 5th. And let's see. All right. Inspirational moment. Leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Warren Bennis. I'll turn it over to Jill to introduce our speaker.
Okay, thank you. I think, now I have known Mayor Copenhaver since I was young. I think it probably happened when his family moved into Jonesboro. I'm assuming that was about the time his father became dean of the College of Music here at A-State. So I feel like Harold would want me to start with probably what's most, he is most proud of is his marriage of 38 years to his beautiful wife, Kathleen. And they have 3 wonderful children, Lauren, Austin, and Miles. And then they are the grandparents now of 3 children. So I wanted to start with that. I know he is obviously very proud of his family. We all know he was elected to the Jonesboro mayoral office in November. But previous to that, he was the senior business development officer at Centennial Bank. Prior to that, though, he did work in the insurance industry and also as a farm manager. And I think that my dad, Harold, should get some credit for that because Harold did do some farm work when he was a teenager for my dad. So I think that maybe Mr. Fred ought to get some credit for that. Anyway, he also has served a term in the Arkansas legislature. He's a proud graduate of Jonesboro High School and, of course, an alumnus of Arkansas State University. He attends the First Baptist Church. He sings he was a member of the ASU Alumni Men's Trio, but also I think what some people may not know about him is he was, and he still may be, he can tell us if he's still playing the trumpet or not. He was an excellent trumpet player in the band at Jonesboro High School. So excellent trumpet player. And so he's been involved in many community service organizations such as the Rotary Club, City Youth Ministries, and the Northeast Arkansas Food Pantry. So that's what I want to make sure everyone knows about our new mayor. And I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Harold Copenhaver.
Well, good morning. Good afternoon. Either way you'd like to look at it. I'm really honored to be here today. And Jill, I can tell a few more stories than you were probably going to elaborate on, but the basis of growing up in this community and many individuals that have helped me through that, and Jill's family was a big part of that, her mom and dad, and leadership in our church and our community. And I got my first speeding ticket driving back from his farm when I was 16. So anyhow, there are other stories to go with that. But I feel amiss that we haven't started out with the ROTARY, that spells Rotary song. So I would love to lead it, but anyway, maybe that's for another day in person. Well, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity and being here today. And I am truly humbled and blessed. This community has provided myself and others an opportunity to serve it in where I feel that the Lord has blessed me in the ability to communicate with others and to promote this tremendous community of ours, which is Jonesboro. Many of you that I see here on this call, I've known for many years, and you have done much the same in your business and in your personal life. This is really important to me as we move forward, and obviously being provided the opportunity to serve you as mayor, I saw some immediate opportunity for us to advance our office here. And I did so by hiring a chief operating officer. His name is Tony Thomas. Many of you know Tony. I think with his experience throughout our community, whether it was in the city county judge. He worked for the county judge for a number of years, and then he was executive director of CRDC. That provides a major role of experience, and so he understands how the community operates. He has the connections as well. Then I added a position, and City Council approved it, a Chief Administrative Officer. This is a new role to the city, one that I felt that I looked at when I was campaigning was a much needed role from the standpoint it provides a real stability to our community from when we start new projects, when we have ongoing projects, the individual that is going to be on the forefront of those, where they are, how we're going to finish them, how we're going to apply our grants to these processes. Many of those questions, to be honest with you, are very confusing. And in this role, he will play a major role in making all this come together. I was very pleased initially when we first got in office to secure a grant for $250,000 from Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. And she was very open to our community. And so that brings me into the Veterans Village. And wow, what a great accomplishment. I went to Little Rock a week and a half ago and visited not only with the governor, but I visited with other individuals in Little Rock. And what we're doing in Jonesboro with the Veterans Village is the first of its kind in the state of Arkansas. Also, the state of Missouri is interested in how this project has gone, and they are looking to provide one as well in their state. So again, it's all about community involvement. The people in our community, from businesses to individuals, have stepped up as well, and we want to provide the best we can for our veterans because they provided us when we didn't ask for them to. And so this is just kind of one area that we're looking at. This past week, I was very pleased to announce my first commission, and wow, an exciting one. When I was campaigning, I kept seeing an overwhelming response from the youth in this community about what they are providing in the ability of communication, technology, and they have the foresight of what our community truly needs to be in the future. And so it is important that we be able to involve them in any way possible. And so I'm really excited about the new Youth Commission. This commission will provide the opportunity for all of our public schools in Jonesboro, our private school, and as well as homeschool students to have an opportunity to have their voice heard in our community. The main thing about this is to empower their ideas and empower them. It is key that we do so because they're going to be the leaders 30 years down the road, not us anymore. This will also partner with Arkansas State University, and the students there at the Student Government Association will also be working with these youth to develop their ideas, whether it's communication, whether it's technology. But then that leads to the next communication excitement that I'm pleased to announce. And next week, I'm going to be making my first State of the City. It will be a different venue than I think what most of you have seen in the past. It's going to be more about individuals that I work with. It's going to be about what they do, what the services they provide, and then how we're going to move on into the future. I'm really excited. Of course, I've only been in the position 2.5 months, but we are working hard. We are working to address issues. I think one of the main issues that we confronted right off the get-go, obviously, was working diligently to get progress on our mall. Not only was it an eyesore to our community, but the economic impact to our community as well, it obviously had slowed that process. So we have achieved at least the first phase, and as of March 15th, and I think I'm already seeing some debris being taken away to this day. The process has started. So hopefully we'll see that back in operation. There's 3 phases that the mall is looking at, and this will be the first phase is demolition. And I'll feel free to answer any questions on that later as well. I also want to look into an area that came up this past week that the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Jonesboro are addressing as fervently as we can, and that is this Metropolitan Statistical Area Assessment. And basically it's called MSA. And this is all driven by our census data. And I'm very pleased to announce that our census obviously has continued to grow. And that's due to obviously the development in industry and our facilities, and are done so with our healthcare facilities. But this has provided us for a number of years an opportunity to apply and to receive additional funding when it comes to our transportation, our infrastructure, because we were a city of over 50,000. They are asking that this be bumped up to 100,000. And in doing so, that would eliminate some possibilities for our community. So Mark Young and I are aggressively making communications to Washington and to our legislators to obviously not promote this and for this to not be effective. This would affect 4 areas in the state of Arkansas. That'd be Texarkana, Jonesboro, Fort Smith, and also Pine Bluff. So those areas are also working diligently, just as ourselves. That's 144 cities in the country that this would affect. And so basically that would provide the cities of 100,000 and more opportunity and more funding. We've got to get that and make sure that we can retain that. So we're working with that as we speak. Another area that I'm pleased to announce, and hopefully y'all have been able to watch and become more involved with what the city is doing as a whole, is transparency. And I see transparency is not just about numbers. I see transparency is about communicating what we're doing, whether that's just simply picking up trash, whether that's being involved with the youth, what we're doing though. And the communication really picked up. Unfortunately, we had to do so throughout the weather storm that we just had. And we've all lived here, a lot of us, to where we haven't quite seen that phenomenon in a number of years. Last time it was an ice storm, and that was the first month or 2 that Mayor Perrin was in office. So hopefully we can hold off another 12 or 16 years for the next storm. But you know, I want the community to understand that we were transparent through that time. We worked 24/7. We worked with the state highway department as well. What a phenomenal job they did as well in assisting us in every way possible on how we can complete, making sure our thoroughfares were open as quick as possible, getting people to work, and maintaining the safety and stability that we needed to do. I want to commend my street department because it was a concerted effort. The community also provided for the street department food, and because they worked around the clock. And I have to give Craig Pomerini a hands up on what he provided for our sanitation and streets departments for free breakfast in the morning for they served when they came off the night routes. And so that was greatly appreciated. And during that time as well, I must say how the Salvation Army stepped up to the plate. It is always important, and this community is such a benevolent community. I will tell you this, serving in the legislature, there was not a more proud moment of mine to always speak about how my community was the most benevolent community in the state of Arkansas. I firmly believe that, and they stood up again through these times. We were in a situation at during the cold nature that we needed services provided, and benefactors in the community, from businesses, for food they provided to the Salvation Army. But one thing I was really proud of that we reached out to, and they were only maxed out one night at the Salvation Army. And so we were able to provide through the city of Jonesboro, if necessary. We had 3 facilities ready to go that would have been available for up to 100 people in each facility, and that would have provided the services that the Salvation Army was providing. But fortunately, we didn't have to go that route. So I was real pleased with how that went. I think it's important too that you're aware that we are working feverishly on connectability in our community. What I mean by that is to make sure that downtown Jonesboro is connectable with other parts of our community. Obviously, the connection through Arkansas State University. And if any of you have traveled in this corridor, you're seeing an improvement from investors, from people even outside our community that are seeing the possibilities that are ahead here in Jonesboro. I'm really excited about that. We need to continue, though, also looking for ways to connect North Jonesboro East and south and west as well. And so we're obviously looking for ways to improve on our partnerships within the community. You know, I'm excited. I'm working with an individual, having a conversation this afternoon with somebody in Washington, D.C. that has been successful with his community in Louisiana and in providing so. So what it takes is public-private partnerships from within our community that can provide huge amount of funding for Jonesboro, so we can move on and get forward in our thinking with technology and quality of life. One other area that I'd like to address with you all today is working with Arkansas State University. I've had several visits, not only with Dr. Danfus, but Dr. Welch as well. I'm here to tell you next week you'll hear an exciting announcement, and it's going to be the first announcement of its kind with the city and Arkansas State University. We're going to move this community forward. And the way we need to do that is by involving our youth, by involving our public-private partnerships. It's you, the community members, and to see what we're doing for the future. I'm truly excited about things that we have done already in the first month and a half with our transparency for things that we had to do with the storm recovery. We'll be making a really strong stance on tough on crime. Many of you understand that we have a large and very successful police department, but next week I'll be here to tell you a little bit more about exactly who those individuals are, the roles they play, and what they do for our community. And we need to be aware of that and what these officers do for us. Also, our fire department as well, and the role that they're playing and where we need to go in the future with them. So again, I'm looking forward to the city's future. I want it to be bright. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. I want to engage our community in every way possible. We will be looking at one large commission that I'll be forming, and hopefully some of you will be participating in, and it's an economic commission to move our community forward over the next 30 years. So obviously it's about working together, but I'm excited that you all hopefully have to see the same vision and just working together. So thank you today for Rotary. It is a basis of my heart. My dad never missed. He sat back at the table in the back room at the Old Elks with his table of 5 men every Tuesday. And it was an honor to be a part of that club. And it is something I'm proud of to this day.
Mayor, we appreciate you, your comments. Anybody have any questions for the mayor?
Oh, when the mall is cleaned up, what will be put there? What can you tell us about the mall?
Well, honestly, at this point, basically, when my discussion occurred with the officials at the mall, number one was to get the portion of the mall cleaned up. That has been achieved. They have several phases that I will let them announce, but hopefully we will see a portion of that mall back in operation. It can be done in a timely manner, but approaching the first phase is the key. Let's get it cleaned up. And then obviously that's a great question. We want that back because that's such a productive part of our community, and it's a key economic driver as well. So we'll be pushing forward to make sure that hopefully the next phase that can be under operation rather quickly, Jill.
That was Lily Fear's question. So we're glad that she offered that question through the chat.
I think we've got KASU News Director Jonathan Reeves with us today, and he may have a question.
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rotary, for everything that you do. Just love to everybody. Jill, thank you so much for what you do as well in this program. Mayor, thank you for what you're doing. Lily kind of started asking about the mall, and I wanted to kind of double back and ask you, because it is tornado related. Over the past year, the city of Jonesboro has been, still dealing with some of the effects of the city after the tornado. As we come up to the year anniversary, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, on how the city's continuing to move forward. And the second part of the question is, what did you learn from the tornado that you could take away from that specific experience? God forbid something like that happens again. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on both of those, and I really appreciate you taking my questions, Mayor. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Reeves, and I would be disappointed if you didn't ask a question. The part one of your question is, the city has always rebounded. Of course, I was here in the 70s when we had tornadoes back when. But more importantly, it's what we do as we move forward. And so that brings up two things. In January, we had over $42 million in new permits. Of course, some of those permits were tornado related as rebuilding, but we have continued to increase that through the month of February as well. So our community is rebounding. But another area that this brings up is our airport. I feel that our airport is going to be a cornerstone, one of the cornerstones in our community as we continue to develop. That has to be an inlay to accessibility of our community by many, whether it's from industry, and it's a key economic driver. And so those that are on that board, we're going to be working aggressively to look for upgrades, to look for federal grants, state grants as well, to really make that a cornerstone, and then to connect the airport with a thoroughfare, hopefully one day, to Arkansas State University as well. So that is a learning curve that we are in the process of doing, and now is an opportunity, Jonathan, to address those issues while we can. Then the second phase of your question was, what have we learned? Well, obviously what we've learned is just like we did with the weather storm we had. What do we do afterwards? We sit down together, we go over it. Now, I will say I see Judge Day on the call, and I will say that he and Mayor Perrin and the police chief and all of these services all pulled together and united in order to protect our community, number one, and then also how to pull our community together. And so we've learned from that. And so I was pleased with how our departments handled that operation, as I've learned now in this role, what they did, the services they provided, and then how they protected our community in the same way. But thank you, Jonathan.
Mayor, thank you. I appreciate you.
And Mayor, we have a question from Al Poston. He wants to know, what about the old bank on Main Street?
The old bank on Main Street, there is, it's progressing. And from what I have been told, the individuals there's multiple owners at one time, and they're narrowing that process down now. So I've always been a promoter of what that facility can be, and that facility can be a cornerstone in our downtown. It can be a cornerstone to our community, and building the downtown area through the arts and making it accessible to people outside of our community is key. I will say that many investors are looking for our community now because they see what we have to offer. But more importantly, it's about being able to make sure that we keep our youth here in our community and how we involve them And I want to do so through the arts. The arts is a very key integral part. Many individuals that are in the arts come on to be our educators. And still education at Arkansas State University, our teachers are still the #1 producing out of all their facilities at Arkansas State. And they come right back here in our community. So again, they go on to nursing, they go on to other degrees. But as we promote the downtown area, Jonesboro will continue to grow as well.
Mayor, I had a question back to the mall issue. Is there anywhere that we can look to see what all businesses will be coming back into our mall? We've heard of a few that are not. And as someone mentioned already, Barnes and Noble hurt. That hurt me to a lot of people. And I wish there was a way that you maybe as mayor could reach out and actually get some of these businesses back that have said no already.
Well, in my conversations with the mall manager, and he basically stated to me that many of the entities that were in the mall previously have expressed interest on coming back to the mall. And they're doing so because the mall traffic, I believe they were having 22,000 per month visits of individuals traveling throughout the mall, walking, shopping, whatever the case may be. But they're not seeing that when they went out on an individual basis. So again, that will be left up to the mall and what they do. I do know that Dillard's and J.C. Penney's and Target are entities on their own. So it's important that we bring that back. And as your mayor, those phone calls will be made to those entities to try to get them back to our community and again, involve themselves here. Good question.
Thank you.
Mayor, that when I read about the MSA, I was very distressed. What's the timing on that? Have you been notified as to when they will put a new threshold in place?
Well, that I have not been at this point. And to be honest with you, Nancy, we are working diligently right now, just making the communications known to, like I said, we've reached out to Bozeman and other individuals in Washington. Obviously that this is something that I think was going under the radar, and with the help of Mark Young and with the city working together and the county, hopefully we can bring this enough to attention to the, as you well know how it works, to the chair of that committee, that this not go on any further. We're looking for deadlines, I believe the 19th of March. Public input is the 19th of March is a deadline. And so anybody that can write letters and we can get you what those letters need to address and issues. But this is a critical time for this. And, if it were 4 or 5 years down the road, I feel certain that Jonesboro, our MSA would obtain that 100,000. But it could really slow us up in some areas, and particularly in transportation and jets. And that's a big concern.
Oh, and there's a chat question. What plans are there for North Jonesboro?
Plans for North Jonesboro are, I'm excited about that. We've got some opportunities that we're looking into right now, and it comes down to relationships. And I mentioned that earlier, how important relationships are. I have been able to reach out to former legislators that are serving in different roles in their communities and what they're doing in their communities. Obviously, I would like to look for the possibilities of additional, not only areas for our youth, not only in North Jonesboro, but East Jonesboro as well. We've got to look for all areas in our community. The possibility of whether we can provide a financial institution in North Jonesboro is key, and I'm working on that currently. So I will say this, and in this administration, it is key for the community to understand that when the city of Jonesboro is announcing a project, that we have an ultimate goal of how we're going to achieve it, how much it's going to cost, and when that can be finalized and how we work forward in obtaining that. So that's just the business sense of where I come from. You might not hear something from me for a period of time, but doesn't mean that we're not working on it, because when we make an announcement, hopefully such as a homeless providing situation in the future, that we'll have your answers for you, and everything will be on the forefront, and you'll be excited about the projects.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon.
My name is Kapil Bajaj. I'm the Director of IT for the NYIT Medical School here on the state campus. And I heard a couple of times technology mentioned, and anytime I hear that, I get curious. I was wondering if you can talk a little more of some of your ideas, how we can improve, for example, internet access for Jonesboro residents, and other technology plans that you might have.
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, I'm looking into, and we all are here, on how we can provide additional, like 1 gigabyte. I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world, but I do understand providing opportunity for internet service to all of the individuals in our community. And so it's how can we go about that? There was a new legislative bill that was passed here a couple of weeks ago that would provide the opportunity for cities to look into what might be available to them. We are doing so. And so I'm doing that. I'm trying to leave no stone unturned. And again, when that is moving forward, then I'll make a formal announcement later. But we are working on that feverishly. The other thing is about technology. And you're at NYIT. And number one, thank you for being here in our community. And I'm looking forward to other opportunities that we can provide for you and your employees at NYIT. But you're bringing youth to our community, and they're seeing what we have to offer. We need to include them in their ideas. But with Arkansas State University and the city working together, we can look together at how we can promote engineering, how we can promote computer sciences. These are areas that our youth are really interested in. So what can we do as a community? And the best thing we can do is join a unification and come together on how we can promote an incubator system that will work for young ideas and these entrepreneurs to be here in our community. So again, technology is key. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, like I said, but listening to our youth. I will ask you if in the next week when we do the state of the city, I'd like you to come out and see. I'm going to have youth there. I want you to see what their ideas are. You'll be set back from robotics to other ideas as well. So again, it's about being inclusive, and it's empowering the youth of this community.
That's great. Yeah, I would love to be there.
Mayor, we have another question in the chat from Norman Stafford. What is the status of the MLK Street expansion?
And I'm assuming that he will be talking about the Eastern Bypass. And where I'm going with that is on the agenda for the MPO, and that is works in the plans. They should start on that project, I believe, later this year, if I'm not mistaken. The city of Jonesboro has already paid into it what it was supposed to, and then thus the state of Arkansas now will be starting that project, and that'll go from basically the Brooklyn area over to MLK. And so that bypass will continue on, I believe, the end of the project. I'm off the top of my head, 2024. So obviously that is a big project in the works as well. But I want to say thank you to all of y'all this afternoon. I have enjoyed it. I've got an officer of the month that I've got to be at here, and I've got 15 minutes to get across town. So again, thank you so much for your time.
We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to visit with us. So another great program. Appreciate you and your hard work for the city. So
thank you so much. I appreciate all of you as well.
Next week's program, we'll have a representative. I believe it's Vincent Picard. He's a senior public affairs officer from the Bureau of Counterterrorism, U.S. State Department. So we'll hear a little bit about domestic terrorism next week. So should be an interesting program.
Will there be a cake for 52 weeks of remotery?
we need to we need to have a big celebration for that. I'm glad everybody's kind of hung in there. I know it's not been ideal for everybody, but I'm glad everybody's hung in there and done what they can and participated, and hopefully we'll be able to get something resolved soon where we can get back in person.
Maybe we can have a big cake when we do get back together.
Well, I was going to tell Gary, I'm so happy and so proud of him and this club for sticking together, because around the district, there's clubs that haven't met in a year.
That's right. I know
That's
of one
sad for their
myself.
communities.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. No, I appreciate everybody, and it takes a village to keep this thing going, and I appreciate everybody's work on it. So, thought for the day: you can't do things by yourself. It's about a community, and the community is family, and that's how we're going to move this community forward. Mayor Harold Copenhaver. So, Adam, do you have anything you want to add in?
Chime in to say I'm thrilled that y'all are still meeting and joining. Looks like you've got great attendance, and I hope y'all, for those that aren't attending, that if they sat at your table and you hadn't seen them in an online meeting, I hope you'll pick the phone up and call them, reach out to them. First and foremost, we want to promote Rotary as an organization, but we're made up of you and me, people. So let's not forget that, and try to connect with those who may not connect with the virtual platform.
All right. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great week, and I'll see you here next week.
I believe all y'all are getting better looking.
Thank you.
We'll adjourn for till next week.
Even Brian Reader.